We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world. We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman vs. Robin, Issue 1. This is a 5-part miniseries from 2022 from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid, art by Mahmoud Azra, colors by Jordi Belair, letters by Steve Wands, cover by Mahmoud Azra and Nathan Fairborn, Dave Walgo's associate editor, Paul Kaminsky editor. I like the cover, it's pretty cool. It does relate to what's going on overall. So Batman and Robin have had a falling out that happened a while back, and Damian's being a petulant little brat like usual, but Bruce Wayne was drawn back to Wayne Manor to pick up some things. It feels very awkward, and then somebody shows up at the door, and it's Alfred, back from the dead somehow, and he seems to actually be Alfred. But when they go down to the cave, Damian's waiting with a couple other people, and Batman quickly figures out what's going on, and that it's not good at all, because the people that he brought with him are Tim Hunter, who's sort of like Harry Potter, and Jakeem Thunder. So two wizards, or at least people that control magic of some sort, in the Batcave trying to kill Batman. Now, after a knockdown drag-out with costumes and various other sundry things laying around the Batcave, Batman and Alfred have to make a break for it. Batman almost buys the farm because Robin's a little D-bag, but things aren't exactly ordinary. They go to Zatanna for help, but she looks like she may be either alive or dead. It's kind of hard to tell. The people that Damian is working with are very, very bad news. So we get to see a villain from another title written by Mark Waid pop up here, and I have to say this was actually really, really good. It was very well written, very interesting. Overall, the art's not bad. There's some great shots of Batman in costume, and I was actually really impressed with this. Is it $6 good? Probably not, but if you find it for $4 or $5, I'd say it's fine to pick up. It's an interesting story. They do reference back to the things that have happened, you know, when Alfred died, that sort of thing. There is actually little notations from the editor like you're supposed to get for those things, and the story just fills you in as it goes. So I was really excited by this. I thought it was a lot of fun, and it's some of Mark Waid's better work in the last couple of years. His work on this book and Batman and Superman World's Finest has been spectacular, so it's good to see a return to form for Mark Waid. But yeah, I'm gonna recommend this. I thought it was a lot of fun and pretty well done. I don't really like Damian, so it's nice to be able to root against him and actually be legitimate about it. But that's gonna do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various methods of support. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Batman vs. Robin, Issue 2. This is a 5-part miniseries from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid, art by Mahmoud Azra, Jordi Belair on colors, Steve Wands letterer, cover by Mahmoud Azra and Nathan Fairborn. Dave Walgo's was the associate editor, Paul Kaminsky editor. Cover's okay, it's just posing for like a poster or something. I would have liked something a bit more dynamic, but this issue is actually kind of hard to do that for. They probably could have included a few of the references that are in here, like make the background a large house instead of just this blank orange color, which looks kind of lazy, but it's well done for what it is. Some evil magic users are running around collecting magical artifacts and siphoning the magic off of them, including Ragman's soul suit and Arion's gem. Now Damian's just kind of watching from a distance as these powerful artifacts are channeled into another very powerful artifact. Meanwhile, Batman comes across Felix Faust as he is on his way to what else? The House of Mystery. There he's greeted by Abel and escorted into the building where he sees a vision before he encounters Kane. Now we come to find out who Mother Soul really is and what her role in this is and how a lot of the things that are happening tie into the Robin miniseries where he was on Lazarus Island. And then we learn where the Lazarus pit really comes from, which was actually pretty interesting and made sense. It ties into the Batman Batman, Superman, World's Finest 1 through 5, and that was really cool how they tied a lot of this stuff together, and we learned why Ra's al Ghul is called Son of the Demon. We also learned why certain people have certain monikers in their villainhood. Then we run into Cynthia from The Witching Hour, and she tries to stab Batman, and we learn what Damian did to set all this in motion. And it looks like Damian may actually be pulling some strings here, and this is also that he could get his so-called birthright, which he really wants to claim at a very young age when he's really not prepared for it. Overall, this was actually a lot of fun. There's a lot of great throwbacks to the 70s horror books in here with The House of Secrets and The Witching Hour, and it was cool to see those characters pop up again. If you like the old anthology horrors from those times, you're gonna recognize people in here, which made it kind of fun. Good nostalgia trip. And of course, the references to Arion, who was really powerful magic user that founded Atlantis. He had his own series back in the 80s. I think I have the full set of, so I'll have to review those at some point. But this has been a really good story. I'm really impressed with it. The art's pretty solid. Not a huge fan. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but it's solid art. Every now and then some people's faces kind of need a little bit of work, but overall I'm pretty content with it. Is it worth the cover price? I don't know. Probably not, but I did enjoy it quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to reading the next issue, so that's a good enough sign for me. So I will recommend it. I would recommend getting it at a slightly lower cost than the $6 cover price, but it is a lot of fun, and it's some of Mark Waid's best work in years. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he has in store for the next issue. So that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman vs. Robin issue 3. This is a 5-part miniseries from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid, art by Mahmoud Asra and Steve Godlewski. I butchered that one. Colors by Jordi Belair, letters by Steve Wands, covered by Mahmoud Asra and Nathan Fairborn, associate editor Dave Walgos, Paul Kaminsky, editor. Alright, so Batman and Alfred are on the old Batplane, and it's obvious that the Robins have been compromised, along with several other associates of Batman's. So Batman has to fly to Lazarus Island and face off with his old partners. And one by one, he has to take them down, but they're magically enhanced, so it makes it a lot more difficult, and he is getting pretty banged up in the process. Meanwhile, the villains are still siphoning magic off of people, including an old associate of the demons that knows a little bit about him and realizes that there is more going on than what is apparent. Batman, for his part, he ends up having to question a lot of his decisions with the young people that he trained, and there is a reason why that is happening. Also, Damian doesn't seem to be 100% committed to his role in this whole thing, and Batman has to come to terms with Alfred's death, really kind of toughen himself up for what's coming. Overall, I thought this was a really solid book. It continues to be really, really well done. This is some of Mark Waid's best work in probably a decade, and I'm having a lot of fun reading it. The art is not my favorite. I think people's mouths need work. For some reason, modern artists do not know how to draw lips or expressions well, and they end up looking very lazy manga style. It looks like corner cutting. But I don't hate the art in this book overall. I think there's some really good panels, and the story is great. There's some great throwbacks to old Batman stuff, and some great references throughout the book. So if you're looking for a fun Batman book that has a lot of cool DC elements tossed in there from Golden and Silver Age, this is a good book for that. But I thought it was just a fun adventure, and you could jump in here and not be too far behind on what's going on. He does a great job recapping things, and it does show a lot of really cool elements of Batman in here as well. So if you get a chance to check this out, I would recommend it. I think it's a lot of fun. Is it worth $6? Probably not to anyone that's not a hardcore Batman fan, but if you're a big Batman fan, you'll probably be okay with paying that. It is an oversized comic, and it does have really nice quality paper, plus the art's pretty decent, and the story is really good. So that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman vs. Robin issue 4. This is a miniseries from DC Comics written by Mark Waid, art by Mahmoud Asra and Scott Godlewski, Jordi Belair on colors, Steve Wan's letters, cover by Mahmoud Asra and Nathan Fairborn. Assistant editor was Rebecca Bonahan, Dave Walgo's associate editor, Paul Kaminsky editor. So Batman is exploring the caves and discovers Black Alice and sees the Helmet of Fate. That's when Damian and his weird bat suit attacks, and they have to fight each other. Batman's already pretty severely wounded, and he's probably holding back a little bit in the fight, but he does manage to come up with a plan, because the Batman always has a plan, and he manages to get Fate's helmet. Damian, for his part, is kind of coming around, and while Batman is getting people to safety, this guy Piggy stops Black Alice from leaving and says that, they're going to be needed or something. That's obviously foreshadowing, and Talia and Damian go after Mother's soul. Batman, for his part, is way out of his depth. He's not a magic user. He doesn't really know much about magic, so he's definitely out of his element. But things aren't looking good when Batman takes a blast aimed for somebody else, and we have another person that drops in to fight as well. But things aren't looking good, and this does apparently lead into Lazarus Planet Alpha, which is annoying. I really hate it when they don't tell you that there's another book outside of the miniseries that you're required to read. I hate that crap. The miniseries should be self-contained, and I absolutely detest it when the comic companies do this, where you have to read some ancillary book before coming in and finishing the miniseries. It makes no sense. Why not just make it part of the miniseries? But of course it's a cash grab, and they didn't need that. They absolutely did not need a cash grab in this book. They could have just added a 6th issue. This has been a really fun story. This was no different. I enjoyed this issue quite a bit. I feel a little bit deceived that they're now sending me off to get another book that I didn't know I was going to need to read, and try and track that down before I can read the final installment. That's really insulting. But Mark Waid did a great job, and so did the artists and the colorists. They did fantastic work here. I thought it was very fun, very action-packed. I didn't feel cheated for my $6. I had a lot of fun reading this, and I would definitely recommend it. Now, of course, I'm going to recommend that you find it cheaper than cover price, because very few comics are worth $6. But you might want to just wait and buy it in trade paperback and get it a little cheaper off Amazon or in stock trades, and save yourself a couple of bucks that way. But it's a fun read, and I had no issue with it. It's a much more combat-oriented issue than some of the others, and I think that might hurt it with some people, but I thought it was fun. It was a nice, fast-paced adventure story. It's not a good standalone issue, though. It does do a little bit of bringing you up to speed, but it's not a good jumping-on point. So if you're thinking of jumping in here, you are way too late in the game. You'll want to get some of the other issues. You could have done that with issue 2, but I don't think it would really work at issue 4. So I'll track down the Lazarus Planet story and see how that goes next. But so far I'm pretty happy with the miniseries. I just wish they would keep it self-contained so that you didn't need all these extraneous books that are usually worthless anyway. That's gonna do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Lazarus Planet Alpha number 1. This is a one-shot from DC Comics that is sort of an extension of the Batman vs. Robin story, and you really do need to have read several things before getting to this to get the most out of it. It's probably a good idea to read Batman, Superman, World's Finest 1 through 5, and then Batman vs. Robin 1 through 4, because those events directly lead into this, especially the Batman vs. Robin. So the volcano on Lazarus Island has erupted, causing massive storms everywhere, and it's having an effect because the majority of the magic on Earth has been siphoned up through Dr. Fate's helmet and into NASA, but it's all in an effort to stop King Firebull, who's apparently an old enemy of NASA's. So Robin flies a plane right into the Hall of Justice, and there's not much of the League there. We've got Blue Beetle. It's not Ted Kord, it's the other Blue Beetle. Then we've got Cyborg, Monkey Prince, Prince, Blue Devil, and Power Girl, Supergirl, and Mary Marvel. Zatanna's there, even though we never learn how she got out of that noose problem. And everybody gets split into two teams. Half of them are going after the Tower of Fate, and the other half is going after Neza. So each one has to face a minion of King Firebulls, and it's not an easy fight. Meanwhile, Poison Ivy and Swamp Thing end up joining the fray because they have an idea of kind of what's going on. They figured it out, and a lot of people seem to forget that Poison Ivy does have a PhD in botanicals, so she knows something funny's going on. But things aren't looking good for our heroes. Neza's not real eager to join these guys either, and Mary has to put her life on the line to try and get into the Tower of Fate, but by doing so, she may have just gotten them back up. We get to see some really cool familiar faces, but things aren't looking so good for Batman. So the primary story is written by Mark Waid, art by Riccardo Federici, Brad Anderson on colors, Steve Wan's letters, David Marquez and Alejandro Sanchez did the cover, associate editor Rebecca Bonham, Dave Walgo's associate editor, Paul Kaminsky editor. By the way, that cover is pretty cool, and it does relate to what's going on. These guys all do appear in the book. I like the art quite a bit in the primary story. I thought it was really, really effective. It looks really cool, pretty solid stuff, and everything looked very heroic and action-packed. I like that quite a bit. This really did make me want to buy some of the other one-shots, because unfortunately it looks like you're going to need to know some of that stuff. This one I think definitely is going to tie in more to the mini-series that I've been reading of Batman vs. Robin. The subsequent ones that follow Batman vs. Robin, number 5, like the Revenge of the Gods story and the Wonder Woman issues, I'm not as interested in, and I'm not going to pick up Monkey Prince. That character's annoying, but I don't really want to buy a bunch of other one-shots. It's really annoying. But there's a backup story that's about the Monkey Prince. It's Neza and the Monkey Prince. And that's written by Jean Lun Yang. Billy Tan of Tan Comics was the artist, Sebastian Chang colorist, Janice Chang letterer, Jessica Chen editor. It's just sort of Monkey Prince and his encounter with Neza, and it's okay. I thought I was a little bored with it, honestly. I'm not a giant fan of the art style. It's alright, but it's a little too cartoony for me. I'm not a huge fan of the manga, as has been very apparent over the years of doing this channel. And it has some manga-like qualities around the faces. They look very soft and smooth and unnatural to me. But overall, the art's okay. I just didn't really care for the backup story. It does lead into Monkey Prince issue 10, but I really don't care about that character at all. So I just found nothing in that backup. But the main story was great. It was a lot of fun, and it did tie in pretty well to the miniseries. Hopefully, the miniseries will be fine on its own, and you don't need to track these down. But this was an interesting addition, and it did make me want to pick up some of the others. I'll see if Mark Waid wrote them. If not, I'm probably not going to pick them up because I don't care that much to drop another $6 like this one was. I'd say I got $5 worth of entertainment out of it, but $6 was a bit high. Paper quality's nice though. It's much better than Marvel. And the art on the first story was really, really good. I will recommend this if you're going to read the miniseries Batman vs. Robin. If you're not going to read that miniseries or the Revenge of the Gods miniseries, then I don't think there's going to be much here for you. Then I would say get it out of a dollar bin and maybe you'll like something. But beyond that, it was fine for what it was. It was a good addition to the story, but there is additional reading required after this, it looks like. So we'll see how it plays out. But for now, recommendation, only if you're going to read one of the miniseries. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Lazarus Planet Omega issue 1. This is a one-shot from DC Comics that ties into the Batman vs. Robin miniseries and some other one-shots in a miniseries somewhere I don't really care about. This issue is written by Mark Waid with art by Riccardo Federici and Mike Perkins, colors by Brad Anderson, Steve Wan's on letters, Dave Marquez and Alejandro Sanchez on cover. Assistant editor was Rebecca Bonham, Dave Walgo's associate editor, Paul Kaminsky editor. That cover is a nice shot of a group of people that does nothing to sell this book. It's really boring cover. And it looks too similar to the other Alpha cover that it doesn't remind me that I need to get this. I'm gonna think I already bought it. So I was a little bored by that. But we pick up pretty much where we left off with the Alpha issue, with King Firebull facing off with Robin, Monkey Prince, Black Alice, and a few others at the Hall of Justice. Zatanna's trying to get the magic users going, and Superman finally shows up to help out with some of the other big guns: Flash, Martian Manhunter, fake Superman, and Green Lantern. And Wonder Girl's there for some reason. Whatever, I don't care. There's a couple characters I don't really care about in here. They're trying to make Monkey Prince a thing, and it's just not that interesting. The Monkey King concept is very Asian-centric and hasn't really caught on very well here in the States. So having people like Shifu Pigsy and Monkey Prince, they're not that big of characters because there's no cultural reference. So it's just not that particularly interesting, and I've seen it done better in other places. So fighting breaks out. Thankfully, the Spectre gets freed, so they got one of the big guns on the scene, and the magic starts flowing back thanks to some machinations, partly by Black Alice. And she's really been kind of used and abused in this by these bad guys. She wants a little bit of revenge from the look of it, and she largely just seems to want to be left alone. So a lot of the plan comes from her. Now with Batman possessed by Neza, they've got some real problems, but thankfully with the magic users free, the tide starts to turn. And we do get a resolution that leads into Batman vs. Robin number 5. Do you absolutely need this to understand what's going on in Batman vs. Robin number 5? It's hard to say. Would I recommend this? Yeah. The main story is good. The backup story of Neza and King Fireball was really stupid. That's written by Jean Lun Yang, art by Billy Tan of Tan Comics, colors by Sebastian Chang, Sadia Temufuante on letters, Jessica Chen editor. And we learn that King Fireball used to be known as Red Boy, and he had a very modern haircut back centuries ago, where he had basically this sort of mohawk thing, and he had a magic spear that guided him around. So he went to fight Darkseid and attacked Darkseid with Neza, and turns out that Neza's the one that led Darkseid to where his parents were killed. And even though he adopted Red Boy as his own, everything went askew. It's just pointless. It leads into Monkey Prince number 12, which I'm not buying. I don't care about. And the backup story I just thought was a lazy add-on. It's crafting a story. It's just not a story I care about. I didn't think the addition of Darkseid helped anything, and I didn't care about it at all. The art is okay. Darkseid looks pretty good, but everybody's hair looks like there's a lot of wind, and I just couldn't bring myself to really care too much. So the main story has decent art. There's a few panels that looked kind of rushed, where people's faces look a little weird, but there's other panels that look freaking amazing. So I'll recommend it for the primary story, which has some really cool scenes and a pretty decent storyline. Mark Waid did a really good job on this. The backup story was just kind of a forced insert. Is it worth $6? No. But I wouldn't have a problem paying $4 for it, because the main story's good. So if you're going to read the Batman vs. Robin, I would say try and pick up these 2 one-shots. They do seem to add quite a bit to it for story context of what happened when the Lazarus volcano went out and exploded. So there is more story to it that you can enjoy by the same writer, but I wouldn't pay a whole bunch of money for it. Maybe try and get the whole thing in trade and enjoy it that way. We'll see how Batman vs. Robin number 5 wraps up, but yeah, I'd recommend this. It's got some really cool scenes with the Spectre. The artist needs to work on mouths quite a bit. That's a problem I see in a lot of modern comics. So when people's mouths are open, it tends to look really odd. But the Spectre looks really, really cool in here. There's a lot of really good scenes. So if you get a chance to check it out and you're going to read the Batman vs. Robin storyline, then I would say get it. But if you're not going to read that, it's just an ancillary one-shot that's not going to really give you a full story. So that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman vs. Robin issue 5. This is the final issue of the miniseries. It was written by Mark Waid with art by Mahmoud Asrar, colors by Jordi Belair, letters by Steve Wands, cover by Mahmoud Asrar and Nathan Fairborn. Assistant editor Rebecca Bonin, associate editor Dave Walgos, Paul Kaminsky editor. So Damien is being held hostage by the demon Neza, who has him trapped for about about a minute. Nezza revealed what he's doing by controlling Batman. In Batman's wounded state, he wasn't able to fight him off. They do a good job summing it up real early in the book, so you get a really good idea of what's going on. You get kind of brought up to speed, so things just go from there. There's a great chase scene where Damian's trying to get away on a bat bike from a demon Batmobile. Monkey Prince shows up to be super obnoxious, and it turns out he can clone himself by ripping tufts of hair off his body, which is really gross. And they have a long chat, and then the Bat family shows up to try and slow down Nezza. They're just trying to weaken him because he's already weakened by being in Batman's body, and Batman's body's weak too. So they're trying to get him to use energy as much as possible. And really, they're stalling until some of the magic users can show up, like Zatanna, Enchantress, and Pigsy. They're really desperate to make Monkey Prince successful, so I guess this is yet another attempt to do that. The whole pulling his hair off and making clones is actually useful in this, even though it's weird and kind of gross. And the way they get rid of the demon Nezza and try and rescue Batman is a bit trite, but it does work for the story. It's fine. It's supposed to be this kind of epic, grandiose thing, but it does work for the story, so I didn't have too big of a problem with it. Overall, it was a fun miniseries. I enjoyed it. You don't really need to read any of the ancillary books that go along with the Lazarus Planet story. I'd recommend reading World's Finest 1 through 5 first, and then jumping into Batman vs. Robin and read the Lazarus Planet Alpha and Lazarus Planet Omega before issue 5. They fit between issues 4 and 5, because that does help with a lot of context here, but Mark Waid does a good job bringing you up to speed, so if you didn't get those, it's not major. And as usual, this was shockingly good Mark Waid material. It's not his best so far, but it's definitely fun, so I didn't have any problem paying $6 for it. Is it worth that? No. Try and get it for about $4. The art's okay. It's not great, but it's definitely serviceable, and it works pretty well for what they're doing. It's just not a style I particularly love. There are really good panels in here, though. When Monkey Prince first shows up and the Demon Batmobile sequences are all good. It's just sometimes faces look a little too manga-fied for me. So if you get a chance to read this, it's a fun Batman story. Even though I hate Damian Wayne, this made him slightly more tolerable. And the cover's good. It does relate to what's going on in the book. It actually shows interesting things going on, implies peril. It's nice to actually see a cover that relates to the book and not just a random pinup that they had laying around in storage. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.